Hey guys, Richard here with eBike Reviews and Adventures. Well, today's video, we're going to take a look at the Lectric XPeak and some of the problems that has arisen since our ownership of it. And we're going to compare it with the Mooncool MC3 and also the Truxus Explorer. Both, step-through style bikes. The Mooncool specifically is a mountain style bike. But we're going to take a look at them. We're going to compare some of the features of it and see how they ride and just see what we can learn from this little experiment. So here we go. All right, so if you're not familiar with the Lectric XPeak, and if you haven't seen any of my other videos about it, here's the problem. The Lectric XPeak has some flaws, and we're gonna look at those. One of them being that when you add a basket to the rear, and especially when you add a basket to the front, which I have not done, it's got a significant wobble going down the road, and it kind of makes it unsafe. And Lectric is trying to address the issue, but there's not a lot they can do. Plus, it has another design flaw that just makes the bike kind of dangerous. Now, there's been some speculation as to why there's this wobble and what can be done about it. There's some comments out there saying that it's all because that it's a step-through design, that the step-over design of the XPeak does not have that problem. And, we're going to take a closer look at that because there is some truth there. However, not all step-through designs have this significant problem. So yeah, let's take a look here. First of all, here's what you need to know about these three bikes. They are lined up as closely as I can to being exactly lined up. I used a straight edge to line up those tires there, so they're lined up front to back. The differences between these bikes are very minimal. From axle to axle on the Truxus Explorer, it's 45.5 inches. The same thing for the MC3, it's 45.5 inches from axle to axle. But over here on the Lectric XPeak, it's 45 inches. So only a ½ inch shorter between these other two bikes right here. So again, very similar frame styles, very similar size. And, there are some other differences, of course, different weights because of the size of the batteries and that sort of thing. But there's, this is the best we can do with what we have here in the garage. Now here's something we're going to take a look at. So we know they're all similar in a lot of ways. We're going to go down here and just take a look at the down tubes. And you can see here the Truxus Explorer and the Mooncool are very similar in design, very similar in its angle. The Lectric XPeak isn't too far off, but there is a little bit more of a horizontal slant to it than the other two. So that is just something to be thinking about. Next thing, we're going to take a look at the down tube a little closer. Over here on this down tube is really skinny, okay? And if we take a closer look at it, we're talking about maybe 2 3/4 of an inch right there width. And you got to remember the battery is inside there as well. So pretty small, pretty skinny as compared to, say, the Mooncool, which if we account for that beveled edge right there, we come over, it's about 3 3/4 inch from side to side. And then over here on the Truxus Explorer, it's even wider than that. We're looking at 4.5 inches. So that alone tells us that the down tube on the Lectric XPeak is an inch more narrow compared to the other two. So that's going to come into a factor here as to how this thing handles a little bit. Let's also take a look at how the down tubes connect down here at the bottom. So on the XPeak, we have this support piece right here. It's kind of small, but we do have a support piece that intersects, that adds some strength to it. And down here where the crank is located, it's right there at the bottom of the down tube, okay? And there's nothing else around it. So, honestly, you've got just a small piece here where it connects to the back of the frame, and then this small little section here that adds support to the bike. Whereas over here on the Mooncool, you've got a lot going on here. At the bottom of this down tube here, you've got this big section here where it's all welded together on top of this box, which is originally designed for like a mid-drive motor or something, but that's where the controller is housed. But still, it adds a lot of bulk down here. They do have an extra support piece, but it's kind of small right here connecting this. But still, there's a lot of bulk going on down here that I think gives the frame a lot of strength. And then over here on the Truxus Explorer, let's go around to this side, significantly different altogether. I mean, you still have a lot of bulk down here coming through this section. The crank is still down here at the bottom, okay? But you do have a much larger piece up here that provides support to the frame. and the seat tube. So some significant differences there in how this frame is designed. All right, so I don't know if, if it's how the XPeak is designed, if it's the width of the frame, the width of that down tube, if that's contributing to it being a little weaker and being a little less stable going down the road. But hey, this is for the engineers to figure out, and I'm just bringing the information so maybe you can, in your own mind, kind of come to some conclusion as to what might be going on here with those stability problems. Now, here's something else I want to show you since we have the bikes lined up here, and that is the other significant problem with the XPeak is the location of the pedal and the front tire. Now, I already showed you these bikes are basically the same. The XPeak is actually, a half-inch shorter, but let's take a look at the pedal placement here. The pedal placement is really close to the fender, and we're talking at its closest point, it's about 1.5 inches or so away from the fender. Now, fenders can be adjusted, so we'll go underneath that and put it up against the tire, but we're still, 3 inches directly from the tire. And for someone who has a large foot, like a size 13 that I do, that doesn't work, okay? That just doesn't work for me. Let's compare that with the Mooncool. So over here at the Mooncool, from the fender, we're already at just under 4 inches, okay? But if we go to the tire, and it's kind of hard to do since this fender comes down lower, but we'll just go, it's probably a good another inch and a half added to that there if we took the fenders off. So we'd be looking at least about 5 inches or so from the pedal to this tire. So again, we're starting to see that pedal is significantly closer, even though these frames are the same size for the most part, half-inch difference. This pedal here on the Truxus Explorer at its closest point to the fender is about, just under 4 inches. But then if we go to the tire, it's almost 5 inches. So I haven't had any problem riding the Explorer and riding the Mooncool. I put a lot of miles on both, and I have not had any issues with my foot, striking the fender area or for striking the tire, where I have been having problems with the Lectric XPeak. And this is a bike that was designed to be, specifically to be an off-road bike, right? They touted the EMTB rating. They got this $400 fork on there in order to get that rating. So it's designed to be on the trails, but you can't safely make a tight turn when your feet are that close to the wheel. So it's really disappointing because this bike is so close to being an excellent bike. But that there alone makes this bike, in my opinion, very dangerous. And they need to address that. They need to address that quickly. And unfortunately, there's nothing that can be done. Nothing that can be done to fix that particular problem. They can tell people to take off the front fender, but you know what? I don't ride without fenders. Here's something else. Let's talk about the Wobble again for a moment. So I reached out to Lectric and asked them, hey, what's going on here? Because this does not work for me. And the response I got back was, well, here's what we suggest. Double check your tire pressure, make sure it's 20 psi. Well, it is. Double check your head tube, your headset, make sure the handlebars and everything is nice and tight and connected. Well, I did that. And then the next thing was, when you're riding your bike on flat surfaces, go ahead and lock out the fork. Lock that out, and that should help the stability problem. Lastly, they said, go ahead and remove the baskets. Well, I don't have a front basket on here anyway, but I like having baskets on the back of my bike because I'd like to haul gear around with me, especially when I'm doing group rides. I carry extra stuff. That's important to me. And they're saying, yeah, if you do those things, that'll help eliminate the problem and make it a better riding bike for you. Well, that's not the bike that I purchased, okay? That's not the bike that they sold, that they advertised. So that's where I have a little bit of a problem with this. First of all, they touted this bike highly because of that $400 fork, making it a mountain-rated bike, right? And now they're telling you can't use that fork when you're on flat surfaces and you need to lock it out. That's unacceptable. They gave you baskets with this bike. I purchased it because it had baskets because I like to haul cargo. And now they're saying, don't use the baskets because it'll make the stability problem just a little bit better. But they are offering, for those who complain and reach out to them, they are offering saddlebags. So they're giving you $150 credit to go buy some accessories to include the saddlebags. But you know what? I sometimes use saddlebags, but that's not the point. I purchased this bike because of the baskets, and yeah, now they're saying you can't use them. So yeah, this is going to be a big headache for Lectric, unfortunately. It's just going to be, it's going to cause a lot of problems. There's a lot of people that are concerned about this and having these same kind of complaints, and there's just not an easy fix to make this go away. Hey, we're going to do some riding footage right now because I want to ride each of these and just kind of show you how they act and how they respond. All right, guys, we're going to start on the Lectric Explorer, and we're going to see how this thing rides. Now, keep in mind, I don't have a rear basket on this. I do have the front rack. I do have a little weight on the back because I have Amanda's bag, Amanda's gear bag on here. You know, one thing about Step-Thrus is that, sure, it's probably going to be a little weaker frame than a step-over type bike, and that's understandable. But, you know, depending on how it's made, I think it's, you know, there's plenty of stability there, and there shouldn't be any big concerns. You know, a true mountain bike where you're going down the side of a mountain, maybe not do that with a Step-Thru bike. So I would never do that with the XPeak. I mean, I don't ride that way anyway. But for those of you who are thinking about it, yeah, I would maybe think twice about any bike that's a Step-Thru doing that type of mountain bike riding. But for trail riding and other scenarios, there should be no reason why you can't do that in a Step-Thru and be perfectly safe. Now, it is raining a little bit, so we'll have to see. I'll try to wipe my camera off so it doesn't get too wet. All right, so here's the thing. First of all, you know, the bike feels good. I don't feel any wiggle. And if I can do this pretty sharp, and I do not feel that snaky kind of feeling where it feels like it's going to whip in the back end, you don't have that on the Lectric Explorer. And this has got the biggest down tube. Okay, another thing, on this bike, let's get it up to speed. Let's get up to about 20. Look, no hands, Mom. This bike, and I'm pedaling here too, but this bike is real stable. I just hit a bump. No significant shaking, rattling, or anything in the front end of this bike. Oh, I hope you can see that. There you go. Maybe you can see that a little bit better. So no significant shaking or anything in the bike here. Nice and smooth. I can even go around a little bit of a curve here without holding it on because the bike is nice and stable. Look, we can even wobble back and forth deliberately. So, really stable bike. I have no concerns or problem whatsoever. Let's take a look at turning. I need to turn around here. So let's just take a look at that. We're going to go up here a little bit closer. And let's take a look at our foot placement. And my foot, you know, roughly the ball of my feet are on the pedals there. And I still got 3-4 inches easily from the tire. If you can see that, no problem about pedal strike on that front tire. Okay, next we're going to take the Moon Cool. All right, the Moon Cool has been my everyday rider now for a couple months. And I really like the bike. And I haven't noticed any problems. So first of all, let's just take a look here. I can shake pretty significantly on the steering wheel. Again, I don't feel that wobble. I don't feel that snake sensation or a whip sensation in the frame. Do it again. And I'm trying to go about the same speed. We're about 16 or so. Let's bump it up a little bit. Next, one of the things I noted on several of my videos is how straight as an arrow this bike can ride with no hands. It's very smooth, very well balanced. Okay. So no problems there with stability. So, you know, maybe a little movement like that, I suppose. A really tight shake. I can feel a little wiggle jiggle maybe in the back end there. So it does have that. Now some would argue that because there's an extra battery on the down tube, that could be adding a little stability to the frame. I don't know. That's for you to argue with, I suppose. But just normal riding or zipping around tight turns like this, there's nothing to be concerned with. I don't feel any shaking, nothing at all. Let's go ahead and make a tight turn here. So my pedal position, see there, I'm still, what's that, a good 3 inches or so at least from the tire. Got my foot on the ball of the pedal, or the ball of my foot on the pedal, I should say. And we're still a long distance from you know, striking the front wheel. Never had a problem, never a concern of striking the front wheel on this bike. And keep in mind, this is only a half-inch difference between this and the Lectric XPeak as far as frame. Same wheel size, same length. All right, and next we're going to take out the Lectric XPeak. All right, with me in the optimal riding position as far as the seat height, I lean over a fair amount to get to these handlebars because they do sit kind of low. So, yeah, that's going to change my orientation just a little bit. All right, here we go with the Lectric XPeak. We're going to wait for this car to go by. Go ahead and start getting up to speed here. And we'll first start with this. That is just crazy uncontrollable. And I can't shake it as much as I did the other one. There I go. This bike is just ready to fold in half, it feels like. But even a sharper turn like this, you got that snaky feeling, or it sways a little bit in the back. Just not good. Now let's try to get up to speed. Turn loose of the handlebars. You got that handlebar shake going on. Holy crap. Probably don't suggest you doing that at home. Yeah, you saw what was going on there. It starts and then it just gets really bad. So very dangerous right here. Here's the thing. You know, this bike does not have a tail light, like a brake light, I should say. It does not have a brake light as it was designed. And that's one of the things I really need, because you guys know, if you've been on my channel, you know I do a lot of group rides. And signaling the people behind me is kind of important when we're slowing down or stopping. So now, with no brake light, I have to use hand signals. And that just adds to the danger and complexity of turning loose of the steering wheel and just holding onto it with one hand, because you don't want to do that. You can't do that with this bike. You have to hold on to this bike with two hands. But then you don't have a brake light, so I can't signal the people behind me. So that's just my heartburn with it. That's just one of my things. It may not be a big deal to you. Here's something we didn't do. So we didn't do the test of turning around. So let's go ahead and show you. I don't have a good leg extension, but my feet are on the ball of the pedal. And we're gonna make a sharp turn, clear behind me. So there we go. Get the pedal up right at that 45-degree angle. Got to stop for a car. Got to stop for a car. We'll just do it like this while we're sitting still. See there? Feet, ball of my feet, and look at there. And if I raise the pedal up a little bit, look at there. It strikes. It strikes. It's hitting. Just a moment ago, it hit on the left side, and I wasn't recording it yet. So my feet strike this a lot. And look, imagine going on a hairpin turn. You're not turning around, just a sharp hairpin turn. Okay? So if you're doing a hairpin turn, look at that. Your feet are striking. I had somebody else that came and test rode this bike. Okay? They were actually here to take a look at another bike that I was selling, and they saw this one and said, "Hey, can we ride that?" I said, "Sure, you can." I didn't tell them too much about it. Well, when they come back, they commented, "You know, my feet hit the front wheel." I said, "Yeah, that's one of the design flaws this thing has. The pedals are too close to the front wheel." So, you know, someone who didn't know anything about the Lectric brand, didn't know anything about the problems, it's some of the instant feedback I got from them after just one short ride right there around my house. All right, guys, I hope that video was helpful to you. You know, I can't tell you exact cause of what was going on. I'm not an engineer, but there's problems with the Lectric XPeak, and I demonstrated that similar bike size and frame style does not exhibit the same types of problems. So it is something going on strange with this bike right here. I hope Lectric will address this issue. You know, they have to. They have to. People are going to get seriously hurt on this bike if they don't. I look forward to 2.0. You know, I hope they will create a 2.0. I'm sure they will. After they identify these problems and get it fixed, because this is an outstanding bike. It was so close to being an outstanding bike, I should say, because I like the design, I like the color, I like the size, I like the features, I like how the torque sensor down here is. This hybrid torque sensor works very well. This bike is just a crazy amount of fun before we put any baskets or any accessories on it. And, you know, we rode relatively in a straight, flat environment, no hairpin turns, nothing like that. It is a fun bike to ride, but it's dangerous in its current configuration. Let me know what you think. What should Lectric do with this bike? Is it dangerous? Is it something that should be a concern? Is it not a concern for you? Let me know. I'd be curious to know what you guys think about what's going on here. And appreciate you for watching this video. So if you're new here, subscribe. If you like this video, please give me a thumbs up. And stick around because there will be more videos coming out about the Lectric XPeak. Yeah, I'll keep you updated on it. And until the next video comes out, you guys ride safe.